Broadcasting live from Mishra's workshop on the plane of My Opponent Always Has It Turn 1. This is Tap Tap Concede. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Tap Tap Concede. My name is Benjamin Wheeler. I have 3 drinks, and joining me today, I have a Graham.
I've only got 1 drink.
We got a Cameron. And we got a Paul on tech.
Hello.
As well as you to thank for everything you're about to see and everything we do here at Loading Ready Run due to patreon.com/loadingreadyrun. That's one of the best ways to support us. There are other ways, such as store.loadingreadyrun.com, or maybe going to one of the fine sponsors of Tap Tap Concede, such as Card Kingdom, cardkingdom.com/LRR. Go to that, make your order, use that link, say, hey, Lure send me button, please. And while supplies last, you got a small button that says Serving Commander.
Oh, we're on to Serving Commander now?
I believe we are on Serving
Hell
Commander.
yeah.
Yeah. And if you would like to serve up Commander in a safe manner, because protection is absolutely necessary when you're handling Commanders, Dragon Shields, using the code LRRMTG5 over at Dragon Shields, you'll get 5% off your order. When you pick up the sleeves. Dragon Shields are great. I use them, and I've been playing Magic for so goddamn long. And I haven't changed.
How long have you been playing?
I've been playing Magic for so long. Morrow has added 2 other O's. This sucks. I don't know. I was trying to do like a George Burns thing, and that's not his bit. Just the
I saw what you were going for.
Yeah.
It's as it turns out, he wrote those beforehand.
What? Mm-hmm. I thought he was an improv comedian. Anyways, George Burns improv comedian. I'm going to write that down.
Yeah.
What we have for you today is some of the best Magic the Gathering filler you'll ever find on the internet. This is an idea for a show. I'm calling it Did It Vintage.
All right.
I'm open to suggestions.
Okay.
Could it vintage? Has it vintaged? The point is, there's an anecdote that gets spread around the Magic community from players that have not even played the vintage format, and especially so within the hallowed halls of this office, about a little card called Slash Panther. Slash Panther, for those at home, is a 5-mana artifact creature. It's a cat for 4 and a Phyrexian red. It is a 4/2 with haste. That's it. This card once top-8'd one of the largest vintage tournaments in the world.
Really?
Yes. And was something of a regular in a very specific time in vintage. This was because you could cast this pretty easily off of a Mishra's Workshop and a Moxen, or Mishra's Workshop and one of their mana source, and kill a Jace the Mind Sculptor, which was pretty popular.
I remember you telling me about this.
Mm-hmm. It could also just kill opponents because it had 4 power. And so cat shops was a thing that showed up. When people think of vintage, they don't think of this kind of card. And I thought it would be pretty fun if we had a little bit of a game show today where I have a list of cards here, and I'm going to ask you two whether or not you think that it has shown up in vintage.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, I love this.
There are a couple of bogeys here. There are a couple of red herrings.
Okay.
I'm not going to tell you how many I got. I will tell you after you guess.
All right.
This is how we find out that no one has ever wasted a slot on Time Twister, right?
I mean, it's 3 mana.
Yeah.
You'd have to be 5 mana and an artifact creature to see play. I know it's shocking.
Pardon.
So I will allow for questions to be asked.
First question.
Yeah.
What's vintage?
That's a great question. Vintage is a Magic the Gathering format, not unlike Standard. However, Vintage allows for more or less every card in the game.
Okay.
There is a restricted list in place of there is technically a banned list. But the banned list
just the anti-cards?
Anti-cards, dexterity cards, stickers and attractions, and like Shahrazad.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. And then the cards that are just knocked out of Magic because, well, they're culturally insensitive.
Right.
Yeah, but everything else is fair game,
Okay.
except for Luris for like a couple of months.
Huh.
Yeah, Luris, one of the few cards to ever get banned from Vintage on power level, and then they fixed Companion.
That's wild.
Well, fixed.
Yeah.
Fixed Companion.
I guess Loris lands different when you're dealing with Black Lotus.
Exactly. So this is a format with Black Lotus, Moxen, the Power 9. Basically, the most powerful things that you can do in the game are going to be found in Vintage, which makes it so surprising that some of these cards have indeed seen play. I want to give a bit of a shout out here. Not even a bit of a shout out. I want to give a shout out to I Am Actually Level 1, Justin Gennari, a Vintage content creator, streamer, YouTuber. Great if you want to get into Vintage. I don't watch a lot of Magic content. I like watching Justin's leagues and videos. Plays a lot of wacky stuff, plays a lot of really good stuff, and was very helpful in getting this list because I got to about 6 or 7 cards. I'm like, is this too deep? Is this not deep enough? Like, I wanted to have some parameters. So a lot of the cards here that I'm going to be talking about, they're not just somebody played it in a one-off league and made like a thumbnail where they're pogging at the camera about how it's broken or whatever. This is something that would have seen play at either a larger event or multiple appearances.
Okay, sweet.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's legitimately being played, not just technically.
Yeah, it could have been played for a very short period of time due to like specific shifts in the metagame, but it wasn't just well, my buddy paid me $20 to try and like win a Vintage tournament with Hunted Wumpus in it or
Okay.
whatever.
Right.
And I am going to be going through this list. We're starting with stuff that's more current, and I'm working my way back.
Okay.
So it's going to start. I say it's a little easy, but I don't know, dude. Some of these cards are kind of wild.
All right.
For instance, the first card on our list, Still Moon Cavalier. Still Moon Cavalier is 1 and 2 hybrid Orzhov for a 2/1 zombie knight with protection from white and protection from black. Pay 1 hybrid Orzhov. Still Moon Cavalier gains flying until end of turn. Pay 1 hybrid Orzhov. Still Moon Cavalier gains first strike until end of turn. Pay 2 hybrid Orzhov. Still Moon Cavalier gets +1/+0 until end of turn.
So I'm familiar with this card. I think this is a really cool card. I think I recall hearing something about this once. I think this has. We'll work on the nomenclature as we go. I think this has vintaged.
Okay.
Okay. See, the example with Slash Panther is...
Which is a hilarious card.
Right. It looks like trash, and then you realize that, like, when you have access to, like, Mishra's Workshop, right, that this is actually kind of, like, easy to cast, and then it does a very specific thing, right? Like, it hits for 4 power with haste, and Jace the Mind Sculptor has 4 loyalty, right? So, like, what is this doing?
I assume, while all the abilities I'm sure are useful, I assume this is in here because of the protection.
Right.
And that this is, I couldn't even fathom what particular threat this is defending you from or attacking against, that it needs protection from. It's not, I bet you it's white or black. I'm sure it's not both of those. I'm sure it's just one specific thing that's like, this one white card is a problem.
Because it flies, it has first strike.
Yeah.
It's pro white and black. So it either, like, it blocks something or it swings through something. Mm-hmm. And you can cast it off Lotus?
Yeah?
I will say you can't use that as a... Well, you can use that as a
Well, I mean, yeah.
I was going to say, that's going to be every single card.
Okay,
It's
no,
like
you can cast this off Lotus. I am prepared to trust that this has seen play, but for the sake of content, I will say no.
Okay, so that is a no from Cameron and a yes from Graham.
Yep.
Yeah.
This is going to affect our DCI rankings.
So Still Moon Cavalier is currently seeing vintage play.
Currently.
Okay.
Currently. for a couple of reasons. The primary reason being one of the most popular decks in Vintage right now, specifically in online play, is Mono White Initiative. Think of it kind of like a Death and Taxes style deck, the fun police in a format where people are casting Time Walk and Moxen.
Thinking D&T.
Yeah.
I didn't think about initiative.
So it having protection from white allows that deck to play this card and have some powerful main deck tools for the mirror match. But there are other pro-white creatures, so why are we playing this one in particular? And it's because, in addition to being a great way of dealing with mono-white, pro-black lets it block Psychic Frog. It lets it not die to Orcish Bowmasters. Lets it not be targeted by, I guess, Swords to Plowshares is one, but also Fatal Push, a card that may show up a bit more, or Dismember as a way to deal with something like Psychic Frog. Lets it block, I don't know, zombie tokens, Atraxa Grand Unifier or Gristlebrand. Like, there's just... Pro-black does a lot of heavy lifting in awkward spots, even though most players would say that this card is just... You just really hate mono-white initiative.
Because with the protection, if that jumps up and blocks a Grizzlebrand or an Atraxa...
No life gain.
There's no life gain, yeah.
No life gain.
Okay.
Yep.
And yeah, this thing's a menace, the Psychic Frog, hey?
I can't believe I'm saying this in a year with Nadu. There's no card I wish they had not printed more.
Really?
Yeah, it's...
wow.
Oh, boy.
I mean, when I saw this, I thought it was cool, and then realized it just keeps going and doing more things.
Yep.
Why does it fly?
I don't know. Needed a third line of text.
Why does it fly?
So that is one for Graham and one for Cameron here.
I'm prepared to accept many.
For the content.
Yes.
Yes, for content. And for context...
Because he also thought that did get play.
I don't play as much Vintage anymore as I used to, but I did play... I followed the format since it was Type 1. And so if some of my specifics for these cards feel inaccurate at spots, it's because, well, I mean, I was not playing when some of these cards were... showing up. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
I mean, Alex and I used to play a game called Find the Vintage Playable, which was a 10-cent common with a $45 foil.
Well,
that's great.
On that note, I have a 10-cent common for you.
Okay.
Nice.
Dead Weight.
No way.
1 black for an enchantment aura. Enchanted creature gets -2/-2.
Hits something indestructible.
Yeah.
Gets brought back as a permanent. Is tutorable by anything that finds enchantments.
Which is the, what is it? What's the enchantment tutor?
Enlightened Tutor.
Enlightened Tutor.
Helps
what is
your own
the other-
delirium.
It's in Sandra Bullock. The deck that never wins, but always comes close.
Pattern Rector? Academy Rector.
Academy Rector. Is this a Rector card?
Only because you just mentioned Fatal Push. I don't know what... Like, everything that Cameron just said is something that this does that Fatal Push doesn't, because this is a permanent, and it's, but... It's -2. I'll say no this time. I think that there are other better ways to do this.
Cameron.
I'm going to say yes.
That is 1 point for Cameron and a big old X for Graham. So the aforementioned Lurrus. Of the green deck.
Yeah.
Deadweight being a permanent means that you can play it from your graveyard when you have a Lurrus that can also kill the opposing Lurrus.
You just keep deadweighting.
Yes. Very popular during the pre-nerf and pre-banning era of Lurrus, where this card was, like I said, banned from Vintage on power level, a format where Black Lotus is legal before they changed.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Did you know you could just cast this card? Like Companion, you could just play it.
You just play
you
Lurrus
don't have to do...
Yeah.
in the deck. Yeah.
And it's only permanence. You get Force Wills for free. That's fine.
Good Lord.
Yeah. All right, so we're at 1-1.
All right.
Brown Oof. From Ice Age. 1 green for a 1/1. I believe it is just an oof now. Pay 1 and a green, tap. Counter target activated ability by an artifact. I believe is the Oracle text.
I'm gonna go yes, citing the existence of Candelabra.
Okay.
And it doesn't say that it can't be a mana ability,
Yeah, you just have to counter an activated ability by an artifact.
which includes sacrificing Black Lotus. Right?
Sacrificing the
That
Lotus. and
doesn't use
activation
the
cost.
stack. I don't believe
Okay.
Okay. Oh, because that doesn't require an act. Wait, no.
mana abilities can't be countered.
Oh.
If we pull up the Mirrodin copy of this card, it does have.
Okay.
Yeah. That's not the primary use of this card.
Okay. Mana ability can be countered.
If this is even played.
If it is.
If it is.
I like your Candelabra pick. But I think it seems too obvious. I'm saying no, this is not vintage.
Yeah, it doesn't have haste. Maybe there's a version of this with haste.
I know there's more than one oof, and that some of them are problems.
There is more than one oof.
Also, shout out to whoever got named Brown Oof. Just five on a Friday. It was just like, no, it's Brown Oof unless anyone has something better. No one? It's Brown Oof.
I really think
Good job,
Finborn
everyone.
Oof would be best.
Magic cards that can describe a trip to the bathroom.
Gentlemen,
Gotta go take a brown oof.
Gonna go activate a Brown Oof.
I got some Tums if you want to counter that activation. Gentlemen, I need you to lock in.
No.
Yes.
That is 1 point for Graham, 1x for Cameron.
Let's go.
This was a bogey.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, look at him. That's probably his name.
This card has just lived in my head for decades.
On the Ice Age art? Is he like drinking a soda?
Is he about to shotgun a tall boy?
He does look like he's about to shotgun a tall boy, but he's crouching because he just did that, and he doesn't want other people at the party to see him doing it again.
Right. Yeah.
One shotgun's cool. The second one is then you get all your
get
friends
help,
in
buddy.
a room, and
Yeah.
okay. The next card, Fleet Wheel Cruiser. This is a 4-mana artifact vehicle. It is a 5/3 with trample and haste. When Fleet Wheel Cruiser enters the battlefield, it becomes an artifact creature until end of turn and has crew 2.
I'm going to say yes, saying that this kills Oko.
Oko, this does not.
Doesn't it? Doesn't he come down at 4 and then go up to 5?
Sorry, I should clarify. It can kill Oko if Oko just hits the play and pluses 1.
Right.
Yeah.
Who no one ever does.
Well, I mean, sometimes.
I don't know. This gets crewed by an elk
I've always
and
thought
dodges
looks-
essence scatter.
I've always thought this looks so cool. Right, because it's not a creature on the stack. It's only a creature after its enters ability resolves. Mm-hmm. So that's relevant.
It tramples.
Trample is probably also relevant. So it's like a surprise on the turn it comes in.
I will say it is relevant, only that makes it worse due to the presence of force and negation.
Which is
Countering, it's a second force effect,
Right.
But it counters a non-creature. spell.
Non-creature.
interesting.
Yeah.
That's very funny.
I remember this. I remember being told about this card. That it had some that's cheating, I suppose.
I
think
think I'd heard a Stillmoon Cavalier. I think this probably does, but if you think that this is vintaged, then for the content I'll say no.
I'm going to say yes, but I don't know. This feels like second cat shop.
Cameron, you are correct.
Oh,
This did see vintage play. It did effectively usurp Slash Panther in that role.
no way.
Although I believe there was a bit of a gap.
It's also 4 mana.
Yep. 4 mana, being able to just come down,
Wait, this is just better, probably. Kind of different, but...
Car shops?
Car shop.
Is that what it's called?
Okay.
Car shops?
Car shops.
Yep. Yeah, this could kill Jace. This could just hit for 5. There are a bunch of, like, the workshop decks at the time were really, I mean, some of them still are, in on Phyrexian Revoker, the 2-mana, 2/1 that locks out a non-land permanent from activated abilities, so Crew 2 being pretty relevant for that. And it could hit Oko and kill Oko, but I do believe this card stopped seeing as much play when Oko was printed.
Right.
Just
How early does this come down in car shops?
it can on turn 1, anywhere from turn 1 to turn 4.
What's the... Just to help me out, because I don't vintage. What's the sequence of play that gets this down on turn 1?
Mishra's Workshop is a land that taps for 3 mana, and you can only use that to cast artifacts. So that sounds like a downside, but it's not, because artifacts are broken.
Yeah.
And a land tapping for 3 mana,
That's wild.
that is unbelievably stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is a pillar of vintage, and it's one of the main things that when people think about vintage, or when they're starting to get into vintage, this is one of the big things they think about are workshop decks, mud, stacks, those kind of things.
So it's like workshop, and then any of the, like, any Moxen or Lotus, or even, I guess, a Sol Ring. I don't know if that's
Yep.
relevant. Okay.
Yep.
And then that's 4 mana,
Yep.
and then beep, beep, here
Yeah.
comes my car.
Yeah.
Okay.
Those are these like a stompy deck. Like they're trying to play out something very big ahead of the curve, trying to often prevent you from doing something where they will, say like, I have my mana first. I'm going to cast a Sphere of Resistance that says all your spells cost 1 more, or a Trinosphere that says all your spells cost 3, which is really backbreaking in a format with Force of Will and Moxen and whatnot.
Right.
Yep. All right, so we're all tied up here. Wow. The next card, Deal Broker, on the subject of Mishra's Workshop. Deal Broker is a 3-mana artifact creature construct. It's a 2/3. Draft Deal Broker face up.
I love Draft Matters cards.
Immediately after the draft, you may reveal a card in your card pool. Each other player may offer you 1 card in their hand in exchange. In their card pool in exchange. You may accept any one offer. Ignore all of that.
Yeah, because none of that matters.
This is 3 mana for an artifact creature that's a 2/3 that has tap, draw a card, discard a card.
I mean, we just saw Workshop making 3 mana artifacts unreasonable. So is a 3 mana looter, or is a turn 1 looter that is also a 2/3 good enough? I mean, Bazaar of Baghdad is a card.
Bazaar of Baghdad, one of the pillars of vintage.
Yeah. So, but the important thing with Bazaar of Baghdad is that its card, like, it empties your hand pretty quickly.
I want this to be true, just because I love Conspiracy Draft Matters cards. You will have seen on a recent Friday Night Paper Fight, we did the Mystery Booster 2 draft, and I opened the
automaton.
Yeah,
Yep.
the one that lets you draft a whole pack, and I was so excited. Also, this art is just so pretty.
It is. It is. I like her hair.
It's wonderful, and just the light coming in, and it's great.
It doesn't have haste though.
Yeah, I don't.
Right?
I think no. I don't think so.
Yeah, I'm going to agree. I don't think this is fast enough.
You gentlemen have both dodged my trap.
Oh.
This is indeed a no. However, this did not stop me from personally trying to play this card in Canadian Highlander. It was bad even off of a Mishra's Workshop.
Oh,
No.
But
Darn.
still very cool.
it's so cool.
Still very cool.
I mean, I feel like a 3-mana 2/3 looter should work somewhere outside of Conspiracy Draft.
Yeah.
Probably.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's an artifact creature.
Yeah.
You can play it in anything.
Yeah.
The next card, Sudden Shock. Oh, that's a printing, if I've ever seen one.
The time spiral. Dang. All right.
1 and a red for an instant with split second. which says, as long as this spell is on the stack, players can't play spells or activate abilities that aren't mana abilities.
Right.
I mean,
Sudden Shock deals 2 damage to target creature, or to any target.
this kills Mom, right?
It does kill Mother of Runes.
It also kills
Psychic Frogs.
and Slash Panther. Oh, it does kill Psychic Frog. I was kidding. That's actually relevant.
Does it kill Psychic Frog?
Yeah, because
Yeah.
you can't activate any of its abilities.
Well, it kills it if they haven't already put a counter on it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But if they do one activation, like if Psychic Frog is still at 2 toughness and they go to activate it once and you respond with Sudden Shock, that kills the frog.
This does kill the frog.
This kills the frog.
This kills the frog. I just know that Crows and Grip got a lot of play because it hit top, right?
Yep.
Or not a lot of play, but like using a split second spell to kill something that usually is able to protect itself with an activated ability.
Crosshand Grip was a long-time staple in this format, mostly as a one-of or a sideboard card. Oh, forgot to mention, all these are main deck cards.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
if we went sideboard cards, you would not get a single one because there's some hot garbage that gets played in the sideboard. So what are we thinking about Sudden Shock?
I think Sudden Shock is in.
Yeah,
That makes
I'm going
sense to
to
me.
agree. I'm going to agree.
You're both right. However, not for the reasons you specified.
Oh no.
Okay.
Sudden Shock saw quite a bit of play in the era in which Monastery Mentor was unrestricted. So that's the thing people might not think of. Monastery Mentor, 2 and a white for a 2/2 human monk with prowess that says whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you make a 1/1 white monk token that also has prowess.
So
Right.
real quick, we were talking earlier and how there's no cards that are really banned in Vintage.
Right.
Except for like those few that we mentioned.
Yes.
And that one card that's actually banned. Oh, Luris was actually banned.
yeah,
but it's not
now
banned
it's not
anymore.
banned, yeah.
So there's no cards that are banned for power level.
Right.
But there's a bunch of cards that are restricted.
Correct.
Meaning you can
one of.
only have one.
Only one copy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm assuming Monastery Mentor is something that you cast off fast mana, and then like, when it's on the battlefield, you like mox.
Yeah, this card's really good with Moxen, free blue cards, cantrips, and Time Walk. And that's a lot of the blue, especially when this was unrestricted, that was a lot of the blue core. Like that's kind of what blue decks did. They still do that somewhat in a world with Luris, Psychic Frog, Orcish Bowmasters, that style of card.
Right.
But yeah, this card, when it was around, it was a pisser because
Right.
it just, this
Yeah,
thing
you like
took over
Urkel
games.
recalls all of your loaded or all of your Moxen back to your hand. Get probe.
Yeah, exactly. Wow, damn. Cameron with the Hercules recall. Okay.
I remember that card from when I was a kid.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, you just play out a bunch of monks. You could cast Hercules Recall or rebuild anything to return artifacts to your hand that, you would play because there are decks playing artifacts as well. Replay them all, make a bunch of things, cast a Time Walk, and then untap and kill them. Also, Jace Vryn's Prodigy saw a bit of play in these decks at the time.
Literal baby Jays.
Literal actual baby Jace because, it let you cast Time Walk a second time.
A second time walk.
A second Time Walk.
Amazing.
Yeah, Sudden Shock, cool card.
Yeah.
Maybe it's time for Vintage players to go back to the well and deal with that Psychic Frog.
Split second is a powerful thing. Didn't they just print a couple new cards with split second in MH3?
They did. One of them is a Pump Spell and a Shatter,
Okay.
which might actually be fine. I don't know.
So not like format break. Okay.
Scab Clan Berserker is our next card. 1 red for a 2/2 human berserker with haste and renown 1, meaning when this creature deals combat damage to a player, if it isn't renowned, you put a 1/1 counter on it and it becomes renowned. And then whenever an opponent casts a non-creature spell, if Scab Clan Berserker is renowned, Scab Clan Berserker deals 2 damage to that player.
It's fun in Pioneer Masters.
Yep.
I mean, this feels like a problem for those blue decks. right? Like you could theoretically cast this off a Lotus turn 1. Hit your opponent, it goes up to 3 power, 3 toughness,
Yep.
which like
Could be real.
could be real. I want to say that dinosaur though does this but better, right? Isn't there?
I mean, I'm thinking of like,
Wasn't there a raptor that did this? Had to get banned in something?
oh, Needletooth.
Needletooth
No,
raptor.
Rampaging Ferocity.
Oh, sorry.
But
Okay.
that triggers off of creatures entering the battlefield. It pings them, and players can't gain life.
What about the Theros?
Eidolon of the Great Revel.
yeah.
That's what I was thinking of. I was like, is this... I was like, in a deck that wants to run something like Scab Clan Berserker, I wanted to say Scab Clan Goliath. In a deck that wants to run this, wouldn't they just rather be running Eidolon of the Great Revel or Sulfuric Vortex? Like, I don't know. Is this...
Or do they run all of it?
Or maybe they run all of it, yeah.
I mean, it does something.
It do be doing things. I'm gonna say no.
I'm going to say yes, even though I'm shaky on it. This might be the second bogey.
This is indeed a card that saw play.
No.
The reason why there isn't really, I mean, there have been fringe mono red decks. It is still, I feel like the time has passed, but there was a time where I really wanted to like play mono red in Vintage because that just sounds so fun. You know, like, haha, wouldn't it be funny if I killed people with Eidolon or like,
But like RDW is not really a thing in Vintage.
not really. Not any. I mean, there are occasionally you will find goblins showing up or like a mono red, more of a stompy-ish deck will show up with like Megas.
Yeah, like I assume Through the Breach is a thing, and that's a red card. But it's not like
Sometimes
mono
Sneak
red.
Attack. Like Sneak Attack has showed up in Vintage before. Broadside Bombardiers and like Pyrogoyf occasionally, that sort of thing. But this actually mostly showed up in Humans. There was a 4-color/5-color Humans deck running around.
So many colors. Double Pip and a 4-color.
Oh, right. Yeah, human because it can get cast off Cavern.
Cavern of Souls, and Ancient Ziggurat, and Unclaimed Territory.
Wow.
Plus, yeah, you have Fetch Lands, Original Duels, bunch of... You get Strip. You can strip mine people. You got Wasteland. Like, that deck... there are a lot of humans that have showed up in Vintage. The Humans deck is not as... It kind of morphed into, like, the Mono-White Initiative, but it does occasionally show up, like, versions like that. Playing the Lavinia Azorius Renegade.
Okay.
That's a dope card that still sees some play in Vintage. And like
that the
Cathar
one that-
Commando and
Is the Azorius Renegade, is that the one that stops activated abilities?
no, this is that's I think Scheming Fence. Lavinia is blue and white for a 2/2 legendary human soldier. Each opponent can't cast non-creature spells with mana value greater than the number of lands that player controls. Whenever an opponent casts a spell, if no mana was spent to cast it, counter that spell.
Okay, so they can't force you on 2 lands.
They can't use Force. They can't play Moxen. Bunch of she's a real pisser. But also Thalia, heretic or not heretic Cathar. Jesus Christ, I've had too many drinks. Guardian of Thraben, Meddling Mage. There are humans that have showed up in Vintage that enough that a humans deck was pretty popular. It was also a budget deck, air quotes, in that you could play that deck without Moxen or Lotus if you really wanted to. Or you would play them and all you would need were Moxen and Lotus. And you wouldn't need 4 workshops or, other cards.
All right.
But budget is obviously an odd thing in Vintage. We are now hitting what I call the Planeswalker Power Hour.
Oh, boy.
In that I've got a couple of Planeswalkers here. The first one is Tezzeret the Schemer. 2 blue and a black for a 5 loyalty planeswalker. +1, you create a colorless artifact token named Ethereum Cell with tap, sack this artifact at 1 mana of any card in your mana pool. -2, target creature gets +X -X until end of turn, where X is the number of artifacts you control. And -7, you get an emblem with at the beginning of combat on your turn. Target artifact you control becomes an artifact creature with base power toughness 5/5.
4 mana, 5 loyalty, goes up to 6 immediately. So a burly planeswalker survives a hit from that fancy car that I've already forgotten the name of.
Wheel Cruiser.
Fleet Wheel Cruiser.
I mean, it's going to kill everything with its -2 ability in the deck that plays this,
Yeah.
right?
I love that he makes legally distinct treasure. Mm-hmm. Ethereum Cell.
Whatever happened to Esper? I mean, I guess it got mushed into the Conflux, right? But it seems
fine.
like the other kind of like high tech plane, along with Kaladesh, or sorry, Avishkar and like Kamigawa.
Everything we've seen on MH3, or most of what we saw on MH3 from Alara, was just death.
Okay.
Like White of the Reliquary and White Orchid Phantom. At least
right.
Bant is screwed. We know something bad happened in Bant.
Rip.
Yeah.
I know Tezzerets have gotten play in Vintage, but
Yep.
I don't know if
It's just lousy with Tezzerets.
does this win the game.
I don't know. I'm
Is this-
I'm going to say no.
It doesn't tutor for anything. It doesn't find anything. Like,
I think there's more interesting Tezzerets out there.
yeah, I think I agree with that.
I just think there are more interesting Tezzerets out there.
Yeah.
You're both correct. This was a
Yay.
bogey. There was a popular archetype in the format called Tezzerator or Keeper.
Good name.
Was another name of it. Technically there were legally distinct decks, but Tezzeret as a figure in Vintage has showed up in actually multiple versions. The Tezzeret the Seeker being the most popular one, a card that can untap your Time Vault
Right.
or tutor up your Time Vault.
The other Tezzeret.
Also pretty good at untapping, mana vaults and grim monoliths and whatnot. But the mono blue Tezzeret here, Tezzeret the Seeker, saw quite a bit of play. The other blue-black one, Tezzeret Agent of Bolus, also saw some play, the Mirrored and Besieged one, because that card just threatened to lethal your opponent very quickly.
This art goes so hard.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this is, personally, off topic, this is close to a perfect Planeswalker to me. Like, everything about the card, it's just like, damn, I want to spend money on this, You want to be the person playing this card. Yeah. But not Tezzeret the Schemer. Not Tezzeret the Schemer.
Tezzeret the Schemer seems like it wins a lot of limited games.
I think that card has gotten a bit of this one has gotten a bit of an unfair shake from like Eternal players, Cube players, Canlander players. I got a soft spot for this. In the right deck, it comes down and kills 2 things and then poops out Lotus Petals. Or it just poops out Lotus Petals and then, I don't know, you take an extra turn, you ult, and then you win the game.
How's it kill the second thing?
It's 5 loyalty and you just -2 twice.
Like in consecutive turns.
Right. Sorry, I was like, but how do you? Okay, I get it. Yeah, 4 mana. Any 4 mana planeswalker that does stuff is generally pretty alright.
It's a lot of loyalty.
Yeah.
The next planeswalker, Saheeli Rai. 1 blue and a red for a 3 loyalty planeswalker. +1. Scry 1. Saheeli deals 1 damage to each opponent. -2. Create a token that's a copy of target artifact or creature you control, except it's an artifact in addition to its other types. That token gains haste, exile at the beginning of the next end step. Or -7. Search your library for up to 3 artifact cards with different names and put them into play.
Making a second Blightsteel Colossus seems good.
I don't even know what the targets are.
Yeah,
right?
but like making a second one of them seems strong.
But we started talking about workshop decks and artifact decks and stuff, and I have to assume that 3 mana to make a copy of something, and then you still have Saheeli kicking around. That has to be good. When you said Saheeli, I was expecting a different Saheeli for some reason, but I forgot that this is what the -2 ability is, and that just seems... the Saheeli's got to see play.
So that's a yes for both of you?
Yes.
Okay. You're both correct.
Sick.
I'm not going to elaborate why.
Why?
It'll come up later.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
Or will it?
Uh-oh.
The final Planeswalker is Arlen Cord. 2 red and a green for a 3 loyalty Planeswalker. +1. Until end of turn, up to 1 target creature gets +2/+2 and gains vigilance and haste. And 0. Put a 2/2 wolf token onto the battlefield. Transform Arlen Cord. She turns into Arlen Embraced by the Moon. +1, creatures you control get +1/+1 and gain trample until end of turn. -1, Arlen deals 3 damage to target creature or player. Transform Arlen. And -6, you get an emblem with creatures you control have haste and tap. This creature deals damage equal to its power target creature or player.
She kind of does everything.
I'm like very quickly saying yes just because I want it to be true. Can I see the front side again?
Isn't it funny how few words are on this card?
Yeah. Yeah, the typeface is so big.
4 mana, comes down on 3, make a wolf, transform, and then next turn, sort of a mini overrunny thingy. Or you make a creature big and then get to hit with vigilance, and so something's back to protect. I cannot begin to know the context for why.
Yep.
But I'm saying yes.
Okay.
This is mostly a vibe-based guess. Yeah.
Yeah, like I
just
I
want it to be
wanna
true.
say-
I like Arlen a lot.
Yeah, no, this card is sweet. Giving something vigilance and haste seems useful. It's like a mini overrun. You're right. Makes a dude transforms, starts hitting things. That's pretty good. Is it too slow? Is it too slow? Are there other cards that do all of these things? I want to say yes as well because I think it's sweet that this would see play.
Boys are both right.
Yeah.
Now, admittedly, this one is a bit more niche than some of the other cards, but I am an Arlen Cord simp, and so I got to put together this list. I'm going to put on Arlen.
Hell yeah.
She did see some play, and at larger scale events, multiple players still under the criteria, in Oath of Druids decks. So we haven't really talked about Oath of Druids that much.
Yeah. You're gonna have to remind me because every time I read it, I go cross-eyed.
So it's another pillar of the format, and also one of the number one cycles where the best card is so infinitely better than anything else in the cycle.
Right.
2 mana enchantment. At the beginning of each player's upkeep, that player chooses target player who controls more creatures than them, and it also happens to be their opponent. The first player may reveal cards from the top of their library until they reveal a creature. If they do, that player puts that card onto the battlefield, and all other cards are put into the graveyard. So I'm against Graham. Graham has a creature in play. I have an Oath of Druids. We get to my upkeep. I go, hey, you have more creatures than me. I get a creature. Then I mill cards from the top of my deck until I hit a creature. And my creature is probably going to be bigger than yours. And so this could mean anything from Emrakul, which is very good with Arlen Cord, giving Emrakul haste. This could be something like Inferno Titan, or Gristlebrand, or Atroxigran Unifier. Bunch of different things that you can put into play. The Oath decks have evolved over the years. They've gotten a lot better as the Oath targets have also... They're not just piles of meat. Right? Like Atroxa is a great one because it's good on the offense, good on the defense, draws you a bunch of cards, pitches to Force of Will, bunch of stuff. But for a while, the Oath decks had some pretty wacky targets, and they've always kind of relied on having planeswalkers as well. They've kind of been like planeswalker control decks almost, using like Jace the Mind Sculptor, nowadays using Oko, Thief of Crowns, Dak Faden, that kind of thing to kind of control the board. Oath decks are in a weird spot where you need to not die to creatures, but also need to get your opponents to play creatures. And so planeswalkers are like a great way of kind of
using your mana.
Yeah, and including creatures that aren't actually creatures in your deck.
So you got the Arlen in play, you oath into something huge, and then you use Arlen's +1 to give it haste. And
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, or you 0 to not die
Right.
until you get to a point where you're like, well, I've chump blocked, and now I'm going to play this Oath of Druids, and my Arlen's at a high enough loyalty. Yeah.
That's wild. You know, it's funny you mentioned the cycle because it was a while before I knew this was in a cycle. Because
It's so
I've never heard anyone talk about any of the oaths other than Oath of Druids. It was always just this card, Oath of Druids. I'm like, oh, okay.
Some of them are pretty dope in like Commander or saw niche standard play, but what the hell?
I mean, I also want to say that this is one of the cards where like they've tried to print fixed versions of it
Yeah.
that are just garbage. Right?
Yeah.
Like if it's not this, it's not worth playing.
It did have the classic early Magic of, okay, we made a really broken version. We'll fix it in Urza's block.
Yeah.
And then the Urza's block one was still pretty good, like Defense of the Heart. Saw a lot of play, which is like if they have 2 or more creatures, or 2 or 3. Basically, it's an enchantment that's like, oh, my opponent has more creatures. I'm going to sack this and tutor multiple things and put them into play. But yeah, Oath of Druids, wild card.
Amazing.
The next card, Sun Titan. 4 white for a 6/6 giant with vigilance. When it ETBs or attacks, you can return target permanent with converted mana cost 3 or less from your graveyard to play.
I love this card. I love this card when it was in standard. I want to sleeve this up anytime I get.
Surely.
I mean, it's 6 mana. That's a lot of mana.
Yeah, but
It gets back your Loris.
Wait, hold on.
That's very funny. That's hilarious. The idea of Sun Tightening back your different other reanimation thing. 6 mana.
Also, notably, if you're playing a Luris deck, you cannot play the Sun Titan.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, only if
Only
Luris
if you
is
care
the
about your
companion.
companion ability.
I need to throw up. Sorry. Excuse me, Luris in the main deck? Oh.
You said you could do that.
You could, if you want.
All right.
It's so much mana. It's so much mana.
Great.
Then again,
scale birds.
yeah. I don't know. This is just a card that I love because its abilities work so well together. Right? Like it attacks, it blocks, it regenerates your board state, it gets back lands, it gets back like you would get back your dead weight.
Which way are you going on this?
I love this card and I want to say yes, so I'm going to say yes.
All right.
I love Sun Titan.
Then I'm going to go the opposite, and I'll say no. Because I feel the same as you. I want to say yes, but I don't know.
Sun Titan has had it had a weird history in Vintage.
Okay.
It has shown up
All right.
in a couple of places actually. In Dredge, as a way, it's a dread return target where you would reanimate it and it brings back another copy of Bazaar Baghdad.
Right.
Or it brings back. There's some versions that played like Altar of Dementia, where it could bring back the Altar of Dementia from your graveyard, and then you could sack it to mill yourself, and then you could do more things and just kind of pop off like that. It's also, it's just like sometimes the Dredge decks, they just look so weird. Like they have the game of like, I'm going to pop off and kill you, and you die immediately, and you can't do anything. Your hand's full of Force Wills or whatever. They haven't actually cast a spell. And then some games, it's like, this is the worst mid-range deck I've ever seen. This deck would be unplayable in Standard, and I'm losing to it because they hard cast Narcomoeba or something like that.
Right.
And so, yeah, the Sun Titan saw a little bit of play in a couple of different types of Dredge shells at the time, but also some niche play in Oath, where using the other niche card on this list, Saheeli Rai, where you would Oath into Sun Titan, have milled your Saheeli, Sun Titan brings back Saheeli, you make a copy of your Sun Titan, which then could bring back another Saheeli, which then Legend rules the first one.
Wow.
And then you just keep making Sun Titans to kill them, or, just you have a couple of Sun Titans and some of them have haste, and you get to effectively draw like 5 or whatever.
So you like Felidar Saheeli combo, but instead of the Felidar, you're just looping tokens of Sun Titan.
Yeah, it's great.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. That's great.
Love it.
And yeah, I'm with Cameron. Just any opportunity I get to play this card, I'll take it.
Absolutely.
Next card, Reaping the Graves. 2 and a black for an instant. Return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand, Storm.
First of all, is Ron Spencer okay?
No. Well,
Yeah.
better than ever.
Yeah. No, he's out there doing things, and I like them.
Yeah.
So much of Ron Spencer's art is like just very upsetting, like thin, sad skeletons.
I mean, at instant speed, getting something back from your graveyard seems useful in a format with Emrakul. Do you ever want Emrakul in your hand? If you've milled your Emrakul, don't you want to mill your Emrakul?
Right. Instant speed do the thing. There's not a lot of those on purpose. Storm.
Like dodging graveyard hate and getting, I don't know, 6 or 7 things back from your graveyard.
I would bet that if this is yes, the storm aspect is
like,
a red herring.
Yeah.
That like
I'm
that like maybe, but that's not why you play it.
yeah, you're getting like 1 thing back. Maybe you get 2. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, but you're playing this because it's instant speed. Get a creature back from your graveyard.
Yeah.
That's my guess. So I'll say yes.
Cameron,
Yeah, I'm going to say yes too.
you were both wrong.
Dang.
I tried to find a Storm card that wasn't like actually played in Vintage, and it was hard.
Huh.
Every other storm card probably gets played.
Or they're so bad it's comical.
Okay,
like there's like a
right.
pump spell, like a white pump spell, it gives +1/+2. Like no, there are not many options. But this one I was like, it's a Storm card. You could also maybe convince them it's in Dredge or whatever.
All right.
Oh, yeah.
I love that you put that in there as a storm card, and I was like, but not for the storm reasons.
Yes.
This-
I mean,
This would look utterly unstoppable in foil, though.
it looks so good. It looks so good.
I want this foil now, just to like hang out with it,
The next
take it
card.
to parties, show people.
It's a good
And everyone would be like, "Damn, that's nice."
It's a good wallet card. The next card is Uba Mask. 4 mana artifact. If a player would draw a card, that player exiles the top card of their... If a player would draw a card, that player exiles that card from the game face up instead. Each player may play cards that they have exiled with Uba Mask this turn.
Okay, so this gets around things that say players can't draw cards, right?
Yes.
Right. So like, what's her name?
Narset,
Narset.
Parter of Veils. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or
I know cards sometimes. If a player would draw a card, that player
but
removes.
this would have to be a main deck.
So this is symmetrical.
Yep.
So it's both players. If you're going to draw, you just exile them instead. But both players can play. But it has to be this turn.
Yeah.
So,
So,
you
you
don't
can't
play it
just
this
like
turn, it's gone.
bank it.
Yeah.
Right. Like this Goozle's like control decks.
Players don't draw cards. Instead, when they would draw a card, or if they would draw a card, instead that card's just exiled, and then they get to play that card the turn that it has been exiled.
Right. So you can't generate hand.
Yeah, you can't bank cards.
Would you believe I have never seen or heard of this card before?
Yes.
Yeah. I was like, what is this? Like, I've never seen that. That's amazing.
I can imagine uses for this card.
I'm going to say yes, but I'm going to need you to walk me through why.
Okay, Cameron?
I'm going to say yes as well.
Okay, you're both correct. So Uba Mask was played a bit in Uba stacks, and as well as some niche play in stacks lists that just happened to play Uba Mask. Legally distinct. It hoses blue decks, right? Really good against counter magic, really good against decks that need to cast specific cards at specific times. It happens to be an artifact, so you get to cast off Mishra's Workshop. Also, there's a little niche play with this card in the 3-card Monty, I think that's what it was. Basically, a type of deck that played both Mishra's Workshop and Bazaar of Baghdad, because this card is shockingly good with Bazaar of Baghdad
Right.
when you're not doing dredge things. Because you get to tap it, and you just exile these 2 cards, and you discard cards from your hand, but I'm not going to have cards in my hand anyways, because I've had this Uba Mask in play. So it effectively, Bazaar of Baghdad reads tap, draw 2 cards.
Huh.
And that was typically like a Painter's Servant, Grindstone, Goblin Welder deck that had some utility cards that you could like set up. And
I was about to say I would kind of rather have a card or a car at, at that price point, but I'm not sure that's true.
It it's doesn't show up that much anymore. Mm-hmm. Vintage has changed dramatically over the years, but I love this art and I love this card.
Yeah, I think this is sweet.
That's very cool. During most of that explanation, my brain was fighting to excise Uba stacks to the tune of the mimetic Reese's Puffs.
Uba stacks. Excel them cards. The next card is Nyx. 1 blue for an instant. Counter target spell if no mana was spent to pay it.
Yeah. It's. I mean,
sure.
like, or wait, you have to pay for this though.
Yeah, but it's only 1, and so it stops a force of will.
Yeah, I guess it stops a force of will. It stops Moxen.
I don't know. I'm prepared to fall for a very easy setup here.
Yeah.
I think I'm getting got.
This feels like bait, but no, I am too smart for this. I am simply too smart to fall for this. No.
Cameron is correct. This card was my...
No, you can't reward that behavior. You cannot reward that behavior.
This was my... Yeah, people... I don't know. Yeah, counter Black Lotus. You could justify why this card...
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Is it the problem that it costs mana?
Yeah, just
1
costs
mana?
Yeah. You just force a will, they're force of will.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah.
Of course.
You,
that makes more sense.
you pitch this to force of will.
Yeah. Pack Rat is our next card. 1 and a black for a star rat. Pack Rat's power and toughness are each equal to the number of rats you control. Pay 2 and a black, discard a card, put a token onto the battlefield that's a copy of Pack Rat.
Okay, this is a terror in standard. It was insta-lose your...
Limited?
Yeah, you limited. Man, the only time I went to a qualifier event, my opponent in game 1 had 2 Pack Rats.
Oh.
And I was just like, well, this sucks. It was Sasha.
Oh.
I'd never played Sasha before, but you rock up to a table, you open your pool, and you're like, well, this is fine. I can do this. I'm playing like a 12-year-old.
So gross and limited. It's so gross.
But 3 mana to activate in Vintage? A 3 mana activation cost. Like this feels like Ben Wheeler has recognized that his limited players were going to have trauma from this card.
Yeah.
And he's right. So I'm saying, yes, this do be Vintage.
This card killed me. Therefore, it must see play everywhere.
Is that 2 yeses? Are we going yes?
No, I think I have to say no.
Okay. Pack Rat did see play in Vintage.
Yeah.
And actually saw a lot of play in Vintage in a very small window of time.
Really?
There were some blue decks that just played it, blue-black or Sultai decks that just played it because you play this Pack Rat out. Creatures weren't that popular or were not as ubiquitous as they may be nowadays or even in the mid 2010s. And then nice force of will. I'm just going to make rats. You just make some rats. There was also a rat storm deck where it was basically like storm, but also what if we played 4 Pack Rats and 3 Pack Rats and 4 Dark Confidants? Sure. You just make some rats and then you storm out and, or maybe
the equivalent of losing to a hard cast Narcomoeba.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just get a Pack Rat and then you're Time Walk, Yawgmoth's Will, Time Walk, kill you with rats.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last card that we have here today is Cold-Eyed Selkie. 1 and 2 hybrid Simic for a 1/1 Merfolk Rogue with Island Walk. And whenever Cold-Eyed Selkie deals combat damage to a player, you may draw that many cards.
Like, sure, Spy Kids was a thing, right? But 3 mana? It has Island Walk. Who's playing an island in Vintage?
Yeah.
Like, does this get you over the course of, I don't know. It's got sick art. I remember seeing this art when I first came back to the game and was like, well, that's pretty cool.
Oh, yeah, no. Cold-Eyed Selkie is a very cool card. Yeah. I'm going to say yes.
I think she's
You get to
too
draw.
slow.
This could be boggly adjacent. I don't know if boggles is a thing in Vintage.
Excuse me. So that's a yes from Graham
It's a no from Cameron.
and a no from Cameron. Well, this card was played in Vintage. In fact, it was like a hard staple in Vintage.
Nice. Okay.
There was an archetype known as Noble Fish that used...
Oh, it's a merfolk.
Yes.
Brain.
Merfolk has had a weird relationship in Vintage. It's still... Merfolk does show up to this day. And this card, I don't actually think it was played that often in Merfolk. The term fish initially referred to Merfolk, but evolved to mean small creatures plus force of will.
Okay.
And so, yeah, what are you going to do?
Words mean things.
Like Meddling Mage and Kasali Pride Mage and even Mind Sensor, kind of like a Hate Bears style deck. Yeah,
Right.
Fish. And Noble Fish referring to Noble Hierarch, being like a mana dork for that deck that could go, if you turn 1 Noble, turn 2 Cold-Eyed Selkie, attack Exalted Trigger, and you draw multiple cards.
Oh.
And so getting to draw like 2 cards a turn off this unblockable Merfolk.
Oh, that many lands.
Yeah,
Or that,
that
many
many
cards.
cards.
Yeah.
That many cards.
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
You buff up that Cold-Eyed Selkie, you are drawing cards.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah. I was just like, when it connects, it draws a card. Sure.
Yeah.
It's an Ophidian with
Yeah.
Island Walk.
So dope with all the Exalted cards. Kasali Pride Mage especially.
Right. Yeah. No, this is my bad.
Yeah.
I did not read the card.
Well, with that, we have come to an end.
Wonderful.
And our points, the scores.
Oh, right.
Oh.
And this is very serious, by the way.
Of course.
Graham,
Yes.
you got 10 right and 6 wrong.
I'll take it.
Not bad.
Thank you.
Honestly.
I'm happy with that.
Cameron, you got 11 right and 5 wrong, making you today's winner.
You have to play Vintage now.
Yeah. No, I
The
impressed.
reward is you must play Vintage.
I've impressed the Vintage players. All 6 of them.
I was genuinely impressed of your evaluation on these cards and like the niche scenarios where it's like, well, yeah, I could see this being justified because of this and that. Yeah.
Thank you.
I mean, hey, give Vintage a shot. Play it on Magic Online. Doesn't
like
that
that.
sound fun?
I like that sometimes we were like, I could see it because of this reason, and we were close. And other times I was like, I could see it because of this reason, and you were like, so yes, but not for those reasons.
Yes. Yeah.
I like that a
Also,
lot.
yeah, I like the ones where I was like, well, it does kill this. And like, well, that card never sees play. So, but yeah, no, I've only ever played Vintage once. It was Vintage Cube, and I drafted the Rock.
Oh.
And people were like, you're going to lose. You're just going to lose. And I went 3-0.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, Twitch chat is never more wrong than in Vintage Cube.
It felt good.
Yeah.
It felt good.
They're really bad. But Vintage itself as a format, it's so much fun. It's a ton of fun. I highly recommend giving it a shot to you two or to the folks at home that want to give it a try. Yeah, it's great.
This actually reminded me why I like Magic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This was great. Thanks for putting this together, Wheeler.
Well, thank you for participating. I've already thought up of a legacy version of this where I am infinitely more... I just know more about Legacy than Vintage. And thank you again to I'm actually level 1 to Justin Gennari for helping me out with this list. And thank you, viewer, for everything you do here and your support over at patreon.com/loadingreadyrun. It's because of all of you we're able to do all of this. And all of this being Tap Tap Concede, it means that we're also sponsored by Card Kingdom. cardkingdom.com/LRR. Use that link in the description. Lure send me button, please. When you pick up your cards, you'll get a small button that currently says Serving Commander. And also to Dragon Shields. When you make your order from Dragon Shields, use code LRRMTG5 to get 5% off your order so that you can properly sleeve your paper vintage deck that I'm sure all of you have now gone to Card Kingdom to pick up the cards for. Mm-hmm. Black Lotus can't be that much, right? I mean, it's 0 mana.
Yeah.
I've been Wheeler. This has been Graham.
Hi.
Cameron. Paul on Tech. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.